without you.
Kenley Benjamin. The funny part about that video came out years ago and circulated when I was in the military, and we were dying laughing because that was just so funny. I cut parts of it out before and after, but before she tells the judges and that she's gonna sing Ken Lee, and they're like, Ken Lee, and they're like, do you mean without you? And she's like, no. And then afterwards she does her debut, and the judge asks her if it was what language it was in, and she says very matter of factly, English. Yes, it's English. So just the fun part to start, because I don't have an intro video. Sorry. I had one before, but I don't have one now. So now I'm going to just do a special little just tidbit. I'm not going to go into the detail of the book. I will continue that. I will say I'm having a hard time continuing with more of these kind of comparisons with the book of The Shining and the movie from the 80s, as well as a TV series from the 90s. Mainly because I mean I have the TV series on DVD, but I don't have a DVD player right now because we're in a transition of moving, and I have no way of watching it. So, for now, I'm only able to find rare clips here and there on YouTube, and I was able to watch a pretty good chunk of the middle of the movie, the TV series, but it's not complete. So I don't feel comfortable making more of a comparison until I have seen it. I've seen the movie and I have read the book, and I could assume that a lot of the book is very similar to the TV series because that's what it was renowned for. But however, and unfortunately, I have no way to be sure. So for now, I did find a YouTube channel, and it's in the description below. Gosh, I hope the link shows up. If it does not, for some reason, and you go on YouTube and you search a YouTube channel for this guy, his name, I'll show you. He does a great video of side by side comparisons. It's Matthew Skuta, Matt Skuta, Matt, and last name is spelled Skuta. And he has all these videos of side by side comparisons of movies, mainly movies, from old versions to the newer versions. And he doesn't say anything really in this video that I found. He just plays the background music to a lot of the movie, and then puts up short sequences of the videos side by side. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So let me share the screen, and we'll go to The Shining. He did a comparison of The Shining's movie with Jack Nicholson next to the TV series with Stephen Weber, yeah. Okay, so can you see the tunnel of hell now? All right, so now we're sharing a screen, and I'm going to share with you just some pictures that I pulled from his YouTube channel, basically. So this is screenshots from the video, and I'm just going to skim through this, and this is going to be a short little quick snip. I just thought it was really cool. The top part is from the movie The Shining with Jack Nicholson. So this is up at the hotel that was actually filmed in Colorado, and there's the mountain behind it. And I don't know enough about the background set of the Shining TV series to know what hotel this was, but what I wanted to point out was that in the movie with Jack Nicholson, here's one little flaw that they had in the movie. You could see the hotel, but you don't see the maze. But then when you see the close-up shots, you see the maze, and I'll show that in a minute. But down here in the book as well, there's topiaries. There's 2 lions, a rabbit, a dog over here. You see these guys pruning them. I think there's a bear as well. And in the book, they kind of come to life and they attack. They scare Jack at first, but they don't touch him. Then they end up attacking Danny when he's outside playing in the snow. And then later on, they end up trying to attack Hallerman when he comes to try to rescue Danny and Wendy. So that's a pretty cool comparison. Here's another one. This is, oh, this is at the end. My mistake. Let's go back down here. Okay, so there's the primary. I wonder if it just didn't open up the way I wanted it to. So here we go. We're going to open up a folder at the desktop. Yes, The Shining. Okay, so what I did was I numbered them. So we'll just open each one at a time. So here is the comparison of the top is Jack Nicholson right here when he supposedly meets Ullman. What is going on? Okay, so when he supposedly meets Ullman, this is killing me. I tell you what. And here's another one that we opened up. Let's see if I can't screw this one up too. So in the movie, they're having a real chummy conversation. In the TV series, they walk outside where basically Ullman kind of belittles Jack and tells him he doesn't think highly of him because a friend got him the job. And basically, you're an alcoholic, you're no good. And that's when he kind of insinuates that Grady was also an alcoholic and there was a massacre because of it. In here, it was kind of just like a, there was an incident, right? When he tells Jack Nicholson, and he kind of chalks it up more of because he had cabin fever and he ended up killing his wife and his kid. So here you can see the overall look of Jack Torrance is pretty similar. I mean, even in the 90s, the longer hair was pretty common, and then he's got the tie and suit. But I thought that both of them had the look and the essence of what Jack Torrance was described as in the book. So that was pretty good. That was number 3. Now, Wendy and Danny are quite different. Here you can see Rebecca De Mornay plays Wendy in the TV series, and Shelley Duvall, believe it or not, in one of my other videos that I was talking about The Shining, I forgot her name. So Shelley Duvall plays Wendy in the movie, and then of course there's the actors that play the children. And I gotta tell you, the kid that played Danny in the TV series was just obnoxious. I couldn't stand hearing him talk. He looked like a bunny rabbit. He has 2 giant front teeth, and his upper lip doesn't look like it's long enough to cover it. So his mouth is perpetually hanging open the whole time with kind of a blur look. And it's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm being cruel, but it was a distraction to me to watch him. Now, the kid that played Danny, from what I understand, the actor's name in the movie was also Danny. But the one that played Danny in the movie, he had your typical childlike quirks, like, I'm not supposed to. But that's the way kids talked back in the 80s. We talked like that. You're not supposed to, and just the way he was, this Danny in the TV series, as a mother, I kept feeling like this kid has a cold. Somebody needs to take care of this, because his way of speaking was so nasal. He always sounded like his nose was plugged up. So when he said mommy, he was like, hey, Bobby, and, because of the shining. It's like he was always plugged up. And it drove me crazy. But I do have to say that the demeanor of Wendy in the movie compared to the TV series very much embodied the way it was written in the book, because Wendy was not so, I'm sorry, but Shelley Duvall's character made it seem like Wendy was just very much a pushover. I mean, she she was always just very meek and weaselly and just scared of everything. And but the Wendy in the book, she is your mom. She is the mom. I mean, she fights back, and she kind of takes on Jack a lot more, whereas Shelley Duvall's character was just very wimpy the whole time. And maybe it's that olive oil complex that she had back in the 80s. So I didn't care for it, but then again, I made it clear I really like the book compared to the movie. So the next one is going to be the frightening parts of the the movie and the TV series. Now, in the book, the thing that scared Danny the most was this fire hose that was stacked in the hallway, and it always came at him like a snake. And the end of the hose would be like the mouth of the snake. And in the TV series, at one point, this hose comes off of the wall by itself, and then blood starts coming out of the hose tip, and it scares Danny, and he counts to 10, and then it goes away. It's not even mentioned in the movie. In fact, in the movie, I think the primary scare point that frightens Danny in the movie was the bloody elevators, which is never really explained in either one, but as to why. But that's what the scare factor is to little Danny in the book compared to the movie and the TV series. Now, I thought this was an interesting shot because I think and I feel like it gives a good essence of the characters in the movie compared to the TV series. Now, the TV series I have mentioned before in the other couple videos, it didn't feel the same as it was in the movie. Jack Torrance in the movie has this scowl right here. That's totally Jack Nicholson right there. And he's like that. And it's almost like there's no love between him and Wendy in the movie. Wendy's here just, lump on the log. She doesn't very much they don't create like a very good married couple feel. Like there's no chemistry. And Jack is perpetually angry, and she's perpetually apologizing, and Danny's just kind of there. It doesn't feel like it. In the book, it feels like this. Okay? Danny is a daddy's boy. He loves his dad. And Jack, for the most part, is a very he's a recovering alcoholic. He's going to AA meetings and stuff, and he and Wendy, they flirt with each other. They love each other, and they have this marriage feel. When you watch the TV series as well, the actors seem like they have a chemistry. There's love. In the book, there's flirting, there's inside jokes. I mean, they are a family, and that's what it looks like in this scene right here. And by the way, in the book, Jack owns a Volkswagen Bug, and so in the TV series, you see him driving. I didn't get the whole thing, but you see him driving a Volkswagen Bug. That's not the case in the movie. It was like a Yugo or something. It's still a small car, but it's not what was described. So I just thought this was a great embodiment of the difference between the movie. It was a very uncomfortable feel in this scene where he's talking about the Donner Party, which is interesting because Wendy does mention it in the TV series later on, not in the car scene, but almost toward the end when they realize they can't leave the Outlook and they were stuck there. So I just thought this look here really does show what the movie Jack Torrance is like. This look here is very much like the book. So that was number 6. Number 7 screenshot is Mr. Halloran. I do want to say I really like the way Halloran was portrayed in the movie more than the book. I didn't even actually get to see any of this scene, so I haven't had the chance to really see and judge the character in the TV series. Again, I don't care for Danny. There is his mouth hanging open again with those big buck teeth. And this bowl cut that he's got going on. No offense to the kid. It's not his fault that people decide what to do with his hair, but I just didn't like it. This interaction in the movie didn't it was similar to what was written into the book. The point of everything was brought across. Stay out of room 217. The place is like a book. There's just pictures. They can't hurt you and all this stuff. They say the same thing in the actual storyline of the book too. Except this scene right here where they're sitting out on the swings is still not entirely accurate to the book, because in the book, when Mr. Hallerman's getting ready to leave, he sits in his car with Danny and has this talk with him. Here in the TV show, obviously they're close. They go outside, but they're not in the car. They're on the swing set, which, by the way, also punctuates the fact that in the book there was a different landscape outside, and I think I mentioned that, but just in case I miss it, there was a playground, and then there's those topiaries in the background. You can see the lions right here, and then as opposed to the movie where there's just the maze. So that was a pretty good shot that he saved. Here's another shot that I thought was similar to the car. Okay, you remember when the first snowfall came and Wendy and Danny just happened to be outside running and playing, and it was like, okay, they're outside playing. In the book and the movie, when the first snowfall came, you can see, you read about Wendy running up and saying, "Did you look outside? Did you look out the window? It's snowing." And that's, I'm sorry, but that's how we react when the snow falls. So I thought this was pretty good right here, how they portrayed the family as well. This is Jack tackling Wendy in the snow, and Danny's over here grabbing a whole handful. And they had just come out these doors, come down the stairs, and just tumbled in the snow. They're laughing, they're touching, they're playing and hugging. That is what the movie described there. And I get that there's this uncomfortable separation that Jack starts to get when he gets to the Outlook in the movie, but it just wasn't. It didn't hit me logically as a married couple. Like, it's just going to happen in a few days. Or is that just the way the guy is? But here you see that he is a married man and a father, and then you start to see the progression of his decline as you read the story along. I get that you only have so much time in a movie to portray that, so they had to kind of hurry it along, but it just made the something missing. So the next one, number 9, is going to be basically Jack's descent. I'm sorry, it might be hard to see, but this is the part where Jack is typing on the play, and he's writing all that. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And then Wendy walks in, and she's like, "Hey, I heard there's a snowstorm," and he gets real nasty. He's like, "What the fuck you want me to do about it?" He just like, she looks stunned, which is stunning to me, because he was like that in the car. Wendy, what did you think he was going to do? But that's just the dynamic I keep harping on between these two in the movie. It was always uncomfortable, no matter what. There was no love there. It was just like, ugh, why did she marry him? It's your own fault. I'm kidding. In the TV series, I did get to see this scene. And in the TV series, he never, and in the book as well, he's never on the typewriter. In fact, once he gets to the hotel, he stops writing altogether. He stops the play. So you never read about Jack Torrance writing on a typewriter, and let alone this all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy is not even a thing in the book. And as far as I can tell, it's not in the series either. In this scene here, what's happening is when Jack goes down to the boiler room, and here's another comparison, by the way. In the movie, Jack Torrance's job primarily is to maintain the boilers down in the basement. I never once saw him down there, except like when the guy was showing him where the boilers were. The rest of the time in the movie, you see Wendy Torrance down there with a clipboard working on stuff. In the book, Jack is down there every day, and while he's down there, he finds a bunch of these files with old paperwork and information about the hotel, and he becomes obsessed about it. And then he, instead of his play, which he was there to finish, he decides he's going to use the dirt that he's found on the hotel and write this scandalous novel about it, right? And in this part where you start to see a separation of, Jack and Wendy, she comes out in this sexy little nightgown and she's trying to seduce him. And he does this whole maybe later, I'll be up in a little bit. And she gets kind of upset. Of course, as a woman, I have to say, I would be too. I mean, if if I'm laying it out on the line here, like, can we go to bed? I'm not interested in sleeping, and if I have to be any more blunt than that, we've got issues. And then he pretty much turns her down. It's like, okay, and then she gets mad because he's spending all the time down in the basement. He's more interested in these files. What the hell is going on? And that's when they had their first argument, and they kind of end up kissing and making up, and then they eventually go up, together. So in the book, I have to say, they refer several times to the intimate moments between Wendy and Jack. In fact, there's several times. There's one part of the book where you're reading it gets a little dicey because they start talking about unbuttoning her shirt and all this stuff, which is what married couples do. But obviously, they couldn't put that in the TV series, so all they did was just had beautiful Rebecca De Mornay come down in a sexy little nightgown and tries to seduce this guy, which I think any guy would have to say is out of his mind for turning her down in that kind of mood. So, to go to number 10, when things start getting a little rough, Danny does send he sees the descent of his father and how the hotel is taking him over. And now, obviously, you've seen the movie. You remember the part where Danny sends out The Shining, and he communicates that to Hallerman, who's like in Florida. In the book and in the TV, I see a clip where he's in a diner, and in the book, he was in a diner too. And when Danny's message got across to Hallerman, it literally threw him back in the chair. And that's what you're seeing here. Somebody's like, are you okay? But obviously in the movie, they didn't even, he's at home with his big afro naked lady portrait. So that was totally different, but the same concept. And then when Jack starts his hallucinations or whatnot, he goes in and he's stressed, he's upset. By this time, it's in different parts of him going into room 217, which actually is this picture here. And he sees the ghost of the dead woman who died in the tub. Interestingly enough, I had to blot out the nudity here, which was sickening in itself. But interestingly enough, you only see her basically when Jack Torrance goes into the room to check it in the movie. In the TV series, it follows very close to the book because Danny goes in and sees her first. And it, just like in the book, Danny tries to run out of the room, the door shuts, he can't open it, and then she comes up behind him, and that's when he gets choked and bruised. In the movie, you don't see so much of her touching Danny at all. You only see her when Jack Torrance goes in to check the room. So going back to this is when Jack is starting to get pushed over the edge, and then he sees Lloyd, right? He's in here talking to Lloyd. And the dialogue, I have to say, and the interaction between the movie and the book. Now, I have to admit, I have not seen the dialogue in the TV series yet, but between the book and the movie, it ran pretty similar to the same line. A lot of the, how's my credit in this place? Your money's no good here. and he's talking to Lloyd, about women, and Lloyd kind of insinuates that they, are going to be a problem. In fact, your son has called in an outsider, and so that dialogue does happen in the book, and it's mainly like in Jack's head, but in the movie it's portrayed as a hallucination. So that's we already saw that one. Now here's another one that I thought was interesting. What and the clip that I didn't even notice this. I did watch this part when Jack Torrance in the TV series goes down into Ullman's office, and the reason he destroys the CB radio is because he starts hearing things, and he starts hearing his father's voice. His father, who was an abusive man, starts taunting him and telling him that his wife and his son are doing this and that, and you need to be a man, you're still just a pup, and starts just abusing him. So he loses it, and he takes this mallet, which is actually a key item, a key weapon in the TV show and the book, and he just destroys the hell out of the CB radio. Now in the movie, Jack just neatly takes the top off and removes some pieces and then breaks them. And he doesn't do that in any recompense from hallucinations or anything. He just does it because after he was told that his son might call for outside help, or that they don't want to be there or whatever, he's basically already premeditating the I guess the way to block them from communicating outside the hotel. So this is very premeditated. This one wasn't. This one was very emotional and spontaneous. So that was a good difference to point out there. This is what I wanted to show you, and it should have been in the beginning. I'm sorry I numbered these incorrectly, but this is the topiaries. The lion is right here. The dog is back there. I think this is like a sheep or something. And then on the other side, there's a rabbit. But in the movie, this maze suddenly appears after they arrive at the hotel. There's this giant maze, which ends up becoming the demise of Jack's, the ending to, Jack's scene. So let's see what else I missed. In the movie, meeting Grady happens when Grady spills something on him and talks to him. But it looks like in the TV series, and I just saw a clip of this from Matt's video. I didn't see the actual part in the TV show. It looks like he just walks in and he finds a party going on in that ballroom, and he walks over and, there's Grady sitting there to serve him a drink or something, which is what Grady was doing here too. He's serving drinks, but their conversation happens in the bathroom. Here it seems like it happens right at the bar. And he has the shocked look when Grady tells him, "You're the caretaker," or "You've always been," or something like that. I couldn't quite hear the words because there was background music playing at the time, but you could see the stunned look on Jack's face at that part. So where am I at? Here's another comparison when Jack and Wendy basically start really falling apart. Jack has been inside this bar for hours, and then Wendy, comes to find him. By then, he's already convinced that she is there to end everything, and she grabs a bottle from the bar and smashes it over his head, which leads to him getting knocked out. And then she has to drag him into the cooler or the storage, right? In the movie, everybody knows that most famous part when Jack is following Wendy up the stairs and she's swinging the bat and she's saying, "Get away from me." And he's saying those words. My husband just thinks it's hilarious, this part where he's like, "Wendy, light of my life." And he's just very condescending, but that's the difference. We don't know where this, bat comes from. Wendy just happens to have it. And, she ends up hitting him in the head, knocks Jack out. So I think this part I skipped before that. Another difference between that Wendy in the movie and Wendy in the, well, in the book as well. In the book, Wendy picks up a knife and she has it with her. The Wendy in the movie doesn't do that until later on. She actually ends up walking around with that bat. But when she is looking for Jack and trying to find out while he's already kind of lost his mind, this Wendy actually hears elevators moving and the music from the 20s, and that's when she gets on high alert and she's walking around in a bathrobe and she picks up a knife from the kitchen, and that's when she goes to explore. I didn't see this part in the TV series yet. This was not a part of the video that I watched, but I saw the movie. Wendy doesn't hear any music or any of that. She just knows that Jack has been down here typing and he's been getting weird, and she, she's not in a bathrobe, she's walking around in some weird corduroy dress. So that's a good comparison there as well. Here's something else I thought was pretty neat, and I did not see this in the TV series. I only read it, but in the book, and it looks like in the TV series, when Wendy knocks Jack out unconscious and needs to drag him to the food storage, she has Danny helping her. In fact, I think in the book, it was Danny's idea to lock him in there so that he has food to eat and he'll survive for days and he'll be all right in there until we figure out what to do. And then here, you just see Wendy dragging Jack and he's drooling on it. Wendy, what are you doing? And he's all crazy. And then she locks him in there. And then you see the knives right here, indicative of her grabbing it later. And she's crying and she's falling apart and all this stuff. In the book, Wendy was a little more collected because it was Danny that was getting upset. And she was just like, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to call for help, or we're going to get on this jet ski or whatever. There's no jet skis. I meant snowmobile. Sorry, it's late. Now, here's an interesting piece. The red rum. Now, in the book, and it looks like in the TV series, because I saw a couple parts of this too, Danny sees images of red rum as soon as they get to the hotel. In fact, I think in the TV series, actually in the book, he sees the word red rum when he's still in Boulder, Colorado. He doesn't know or understand what a red rum is, and he asks his mom and dad about it before they even get to the Outlook Hotel. They thought he was asking them what a red drum is. And in the TV series, I did see the part where Danny looks across the room and sees red rum just bleeding out of the wall. And then it gets frosted on the window. He asks his mom about it, but he doesn't want to tell her what he's seeing. So he just asks her what red rum is. And she's like, I don't know, sounds like something a pirate would drink, and I don't remember reading that in the book. But red rum is something that Danny's getting these little signs from way before he gets to the Outlook. Interestingly, in the movie, he doesn't even say red rum until after Jack's descent and Danny gets into that trance-like state, which is weird because in the book and the TV show, it doesn't seem like Danny's in any trance like it was in the movie. He was still vocal, and that whole Tony taking over in his mind on the movie part is not what happens in the book. Interestingly, also, I noticed in the TV series, they portray Tony as some teenage guy. It looks like Harry Potter floating nearby, and he tries to keep Danny out of the room, 217 and stuff like that. But in the book, Tony is another kid that looks about Danny's age, that you can't see his features because he talks to Danny, but when Danny tries to look at him, it's always a shadow of a child far away. You just see his silhouette. So in the TV show, they have this teenage guy, telling Danny, you have to get out of here. You have to do this. Don't do that. And all this stuff. Obviously in the movie you never see a Tony. You just, you see Danny doing that weird talk. This is Tony. Yes, Mrs. Torrance. Okay. Almost done. I haven't even checked how far along we are here. Let me screen back over here. Whoa, we're at 35 minutes. Okay, so let me get this done here and wrap this up for you guys. Pictures. What did I do with the pictures? There they are. All right. So here's another difference here. Come on, open up. Just a quick glimpse. Once Jack is in the height of his insanity, he does go after Wendy and Danny, and he crashes through the apartment. Now, I didn't see this scene in the TV series. I read it in the book. He does walk around with the mallet, and that's his primary weapon of choice. Obviously, we all know in the movie, Jack's got the axe. Jack's axe. So that's another difference there. And then he does crash through. And from what it seems like, I think Jack also splits the door a little bit and says, Wendy, I'm home. I don't remember reading that in the book, but I'll have to check it. I would assume that if it's not in the book, they put that in the TV series as a nod to the movie because it was just so popular. I thought that was an interesting bit too. So as you know, once Jack breaks into the apartment and Wendy hides herself up in the bathroom and tries to get out the window, in the TV show, it looks like she does the same thing. And in the book, she does too. But in the movie, Wendy has that big butcher knife, which Jack reaches through and she cuts his hand. In the book, she didn't have the butcher knife. She ran up there empty-handed. So she scrounged around in the bathroom and found a razor blade from one of Jack's razors that he would shave with. And she actually had to run up to him before he unlatched the door. And you could see she's gripping the razor right here. And that's when she cuts his hand. So that's another neat little difference that I do remember reading that in the book. And then Hallerman, when Hallerman arrives in the movie, we all remember Jack comes out from behind a pillar and just squashes him in the heart, right? Kills the guy. Guy makes it all the way there and he kills him just like that. I was like, oh, okay. So in the book, and this clip that I saw, which I didn't watch the entire scene, I just only was able to see the clip from this video. It looked like it fell in line with the book because in the book, Jack comes out and hits Hallerman in the face with the mallet and breaks his jaw, which knocks him unconscious but doesn't kill him. As a matter of fact, in the book, and I'm assuming in the TV series too, Hallerman lives and helps Wendy and Danny get out of the Outlook and drives away in the Snowcat, which is actually not what happens in the book. In the book, they go out and find a snowmobile, which is harsh because it's snowing and there's a blizzard outside. So he has to go in a shed and grab a couple blankets so that Wendy and Danny can stay warm enough to make the trip back to Sidewinder on the back of a snowmobile. So small differences, right? In the height of Wendy's terrifying escape, we all remember that bizarre part in the movie where this guy dressed in a bear suit, I thought it was a dog, which in the book, he's dressed as a dog, which is what the TV series looks like. He's kind of the jester of the party, and he's indicated throughout the book as the guy that's the life of the party. Well, he would always bring along his little dog mask and run around on all fours wearing a tuxedo, and it's just weird. But in the movie, Wendy hits the top of some stairs and sees this guy performing fellatio on this dude, which was really weird. I don't know. I think there was a lot of innuendo in the movie that had a lot of representation of other symbolisms, but in the book, it pretty much is just a guy that's very, the ghost is very aggressive and he barks at Wendy and then scares her off. So I just didn't really know where else to go with that whole thing. I was just like, okay. So now, as Wendy's trying to find Danny and running around, in the movie, she turns a corner and she finds Hallerman on the ground dead, which adds to her already fragile state in the movie. But in the book, I mean, Wendy's leg is broken in the book. She's got broken ribs. She's coughing up blood because Jack has hit her a few times. I think he even hits her in the back, and breaks her back or something in the book, because later in the book she ends up in a back brace that took her months to recover from. She crawls over to Hallerman and finds him alive and helps him up and tells him, we got to find Danny, we got to get out of here. So a lot of differences on that one. Once they're trying to get collected and get out of there, then Jack is kind of on his own looking around for them. He has a face-off with Danny in the book. Now, I assume this, from what I saw in the clips, it was very similar, where Tony is telling Danny that there's a way to get your dad to, stop chasing you, basically. Like, you could save yourself. Just remember something that he forgot. That's all it says in the book. Tony is telling Danny, remember something he forgot. And Danny couldn't think and all this stuff. And he's talking to Jack Torrance, and Jack Torrance is telling him he's going to kill him and all this. It's not really Jack Torrance anymore. It's like his evil side. And you could see the ghosts of the hotel are there with him, egging him on. And finally, Danny in the book remembers that nobody has gone down to the boilers to release the pressure in a long time. And that's the whole reason that Jack is there at the Outlook, according to the book, is to make sure that the boilers don't overheat and blow up. So he says that, and Jack Torrance freaks out and runs down into the basement. And of course, he's trying to release the pressure in time. Now, his demise in the book and it looks like the TV series is that the boilers fail and they explode, which burns the hotel down to the ground. The movie, we all know, is almost the exact opposite. It's like, instead of burning to death, he freezes to death out in the maze trying to find Danny. So, okay, that's the differences in the directors and the author. And here's the last shot that I pulled from that guy's video. I just thought it was a neat opposite of each other, where you see the hotel burning in the TV series just like it did in the book, and in the movie it's very cold, dark, and snowy, and there's that's their escape, is just driving away in the cold, dark road. In the movie, it was watching the hotel burn behind them. As a matter of fact, in the movie, they watched the hotel burn for a few minutes and then they got cold and had to leave because they were not in a snowcat, they were in a snowmobile. So that was pretty interesting just to note. And I'll talk about this more when I cover more details about the book and the movie. In the book, it doesn't end after they leave the hotel. They basically, I'm going to stop sharing here real quick and wrap it up because I am tired. But in the book, there's like a whole nother chapter, months after they leave the Outlook. They are in, I think, a cabin by the lake with Danny and Mr. Hallerman and Wendy. And Wendy is recovering from all her injuries, and Hallerman's kind of taking care of them in a cabin on the East Coast. And they have a plan as to what they're going to do next. The life insurance that Wendy collected is going to take care of her and Danny. And because there was a life insurance policy for Jack and settlements from the hotel, because they didn't disclose that Jack went crazy and tried to kill them. They just disclosed that the boilers, upon inspection after the fire, it was found that the boilers were faulty and outdated. And because of that, the Outlook Hotel and its board of directors settled with Wendy for her injuries and her loss, and she benefited a full life insurance plan out of Jack's death. So good to know. I mean, I guess I probably should have started the videos with this. It would have probably saved a lot of time, but I know there's a lot more details that I probably didn't cover, but it might be a while before I can actually finish them because I still have to watch the rest of the TV series. I want to be able to have an educated opinion on the differences, but so far, yeah, Matt's videos was great, and I kind of look forward to going back and looking at some of the comparisons he made on other movies as well. But I'm more about the books and the comparison of books to movies. But hey, I mean, he might open up. There might be a movie he has on his stream that was a book. So I'll take a look. And thank you guys for joining me. If you guys have any suggestions, questions, or just something to say, email me. That's my email down at the bottom of the screen. And thank you so much to Matt, to you, who made that wonderful video with the side-by-side comparisons. That was really cool to watch. So thank you guys so much. Take care, nerdy birdies.